Ahoy! As you guys seem to enjoy my last brief summary of the patch notes, I'm doing this again today for patch 7.11, so if you forgot anything, you will be up to date when the patch comes out. Two very quick things beforehand. If you enjoy my content and you want to support me, feel free to vote for me on the golden balls, link will be down below, that would help me a lot. And also, as a lot of my viewers are from NA, if you're able to vote in the current election, I would encourage you to do so. That vote is a bit more impactful than one in the golden balls. Now let's get into the patch. First, we have a bunch of new skins because the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Battle Pass is coming to Smite. You will have the normal skins, you will have the secondary version, as well as a skin for Hachiman and Raven that are Shredder and Splinter, as well as a lot of other cool skins. If you want to see them in detail, refer back to my patch notes reaction video. In this mode, Celestial Domination returns with some changes, which I think make it a little bit more interesting. Healing increases and decreases now affect all types of healing, including lifesteal, ability healing, item heals, relic heals, potions, HP 5 and jungle buffs. This could be interesting for a few select gods. Magic Shell gets a minor nerf where you can no longer stack the blocks by using multiple shells. It never stacked the shields though. After PTS, another relic was also changed, and that is Shield of Thorns in its upgrade, which can no longer be activated while under the effect of crowd control. Guardian's Blessing gets a buff that increases the magical and physical protection of the item from 5 to 10. This is meant to give supports a little bit more tankiness in early game, especially with a focus on the SPL. Staff of Murden has its price decreased from 3,000 to 2,800 in order to make it a little bit more suitable for many builds. It is an interesting item, but it is also situational and the price was just very high before. Nox is receiving a buff to her Shadow Lock, which allows the ability to deal pass-through damage to minions. This is not a ridiculously high value, it goes from 50 to 190 base with 40% scaling, but it will significantly help her in lane with clearing still, and you can still try and hit a guard behind it as well. This also changes how the ability is treated for lifesteal, and it will now only lifesteal for 33% instead of 100%, so in a way it's also a little bit nerfed against a single target. Athena now has a cleave on her last basic attack, which matches the animation she already had, and this may actually help her a little bit, especially in jungle, so we'll have to see how much that pushes her. Bacchus received a very significant buff to his chug, which may actually make it worth leveling the ability earlier as well, because it now provides you with up to 35 magical power when you drink. The mana cost is also decreased to 40 at all ranks, so he's not quite as mana hungry. Bellona gets some mana cost reduction to Shield Bash and Scourge, however I don't think that will change much about her overall performance, she is just not really a meta goddess. Chark gets a buff to his Torrent, increasing the protection buff duration from 4 to 6 seconds, and hitting a guard with Torrents, now providing 2 protection buff stacks. This is very interesting because Chark has been gradually creeping up in performance levels, and this may just give him a little bit more of a push to just put him in a balanced place. The G gets something that's best described as an adjustment to her 2, which makes it more consistent in damage output so that the earlier ranks do higher damage, the later ranks have slightly less base damage but some more scaling in return, so overall this should work out as a minor buff. E-Set, apparently that's this goddess alternate name, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, can't say the other one, gets a buff to her Wingus that increases the magical power scaling from 35% to 40% per hit, so a total of 20% scaling increase, which could be interesting because these changes often do a lot for her. Yomungandu receives a very interesting change. His Submerge gets its knock-up height increased from 300 to 375 and its cooldown decreased from 18 to 16 seconds. Depending on how these changes feel, this could impact both his performance in solo as well as in support quite significantly, though we'll have to see how these scenarios play out in-game. Medusa gets a very interesting buff considering her performance, at least on a ranked level, is already very good. Her Acid Spray gets the base damage increased from 90 to 270 to 90 to 290, meaning her main clear and poke gets a pretty significant buff, which is especially interesting because it can make the difference between full clearing and needing 3 extra shots for archers. Mulan gets a buff that decreases the cooldown of her ultimate from 100 seconds to 90 seconds. I don't think this is particularly major, but it's still a nice quality of life and feels fair with how the ultimate feels. Neith gets the mana cost of her backflip significantly decreased, which in my opinion is just fair, the mana cost was just way too high, a relic of the past really. Odin gets a buff once again, decreasing the base damage of Gangnir's Might by 15 in total between all 3 pulses. Terra gets a buff that's actually more substantial than initially described. Standing stones will now allow her basic attacks to cleave. The entire duration Standing Stones is active, any basic attack you do will cleave, and as this is tied to the Standing Stones passive, this will also last for an additional 3 seconds after the stones are gone, which is not how it was initially told on the patch notes, and that means this change may be very, very interesting. It might actually make Terra Jungle a lot more interesting than I initially thought, because I thought it was only going to be when the stones are actually standing. Vulcan, who was already doing pretty well, gets a buff to his Earthshaker, increasing the damage at close range from 60 to 75% of his maximum, which I think is absolutely scary. Chimpazilla gets a buff to Rising Jaguar, increasing the physical power scaling from 30 to 50%, a pretty significant sudden change that may allow him to play a lot more aggressive. Last but not least, Shang-Kui gets multiple buffs, one to Book of Demons, increasing the base damage by 20 per rank, up to a maximum of 300. And recall, Demons, the ultimate, gets increased magical power scaling from 20 to 25% per tick for a total of 125%. If this is enough for the Shang-Kui mid-dream is yet to be determined. And that is it for today. I hope you once again enjoyed this quick overview. If you did, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment. And on that, if you're new to the channel, please sub button and ring the bell so you get notified of upcoming content for the new patch. Other than that, see you for the next one soon. ZiSotto, out.